The study of Ashmore Manor smelled of desperation and old tobacco. Cressida Ashmore hadn't meant to eavesdrop. She had merely been passing through the corridor when an unfamiliar voice stopped her cold. "I understand she has been labeled unmarriageable by the ton." The voice was deep, measured, carrying an authority entirely out of place in her father's crumbling estate. "I should like to know why." Cressida pressed herself against the wall beside the half-open door, her heart hammering. Someone was asking about her, someone with a voice like velvet wrapped around iron. Her father's response came too quickly, with the eager desperation she had come to dread. "Rumors, sir. Vicious rumors spread by jealous women. My daughter is accomplished, intelligent, perfectly." "I did not ask for your assessment, Lord Ashmore. I asked why society has deemed her unsuitable." The silence was excruciating. Cressida could picture her father wringing his hands. "There was an incident," he finally admitted. "At Lady Whitmore's ball, 5 seasons past. My Cressida overheard Lady Prudence Whitmore making disparaging remarks about our financial difficulties. Rather than ignoring the slight, she confronted Lady Whitmore directly, called her a venomous toad with more jewels than compassion." Despite her anxiety, Cressida felt a flicker of satisfaction at the memory. "I see." The stranger's tone was unreadable. "And this rendered her unmarriageable?" "Lady Prudence is extraordinarily well connected. She made destroying my daughter's reputation her personal mission. Every season since, she has spread tales of Cressida's sharp tongue, her unfeminine intellect. Suitors were quickly warned away. Warned away from an intelligent woman with the courage to speak truth? How tragic for them." Cressida's breath caught. Was that admiration in his voice? "Mr. Ward, I must be frank." Her father's chair creaked. "I do not know why a gentleman of your standing would be interested in my daughter when you could have any woman in England. You arrive unannounced, offering to solve all my financial troubles in exchange for Cressida's hand. You must understand my suspicion. Mr. Ward." The name meant nothing to Cressida. "Your suspicion is reasonable," Mr. Ward replied. "I am a man of 34 who has grown weary of simpering debutantes. I have no interest in beauty without substance. I want a wife who will challenge me. Your daughter fits those requirements precisely." "You have watched my daughter?" "From a respectful distance. I make no decisions hastily. I have spent 2 months determining whether Lady Cressida would suit my purposes. She would." "And your offer remains as stated? All debts cleared, the estate restored?" "In exchange for your daughter's hand, yes. She will want for nothing." Cressida's knees nearly buckled. Her father was negotiating her future as though she were livestock. "I cannot agree without my daughter's consent," her father said weakly. "She may refuse." "Then let us ask her." Mr. Ward's voice carried clearly. "Lady Cressida, you may stop lurking in the corridor and join us." Her face flamed crimson. Pride refused to let her flee. She pushed open the door and entered. Her father sat behind his desk, looking miserable, and in the chair across from him sat a man who made Cressida forget how to breathe. Mr. Ward was tall and lean, with dark hair that fell across his forehead. His features were sharp, aristocratic angles, high cheekbones, strong jaw, straight nose. But it was his eyes that arrested her. Gray as storm clouds, they assessed her with uncomfortable intelligence. He rose as she entered. His clothing was well made but deliberately plain, the attire of a prosperous country gentleman, not a London aristocrat. "Lady Cressida," he inclined his head, "I apologize for forcing your hand, but I find directness preferable to pretense." "A philosophy I share, Mr. Ward." She was pleased her voice emerged steady. "Though I confess confusion. I have just learned that a complete stranger has offered to purchase me like a horse at Tattersall's. Cressida! Her father was horrified, but Mr. Ward's lips curved slightly. A fair comparison. Though I would argue I am offering a mutually beneficial arrangement. The distinction matters. Does it? You have offered money in exchange for my hand. That seems transactional. All marriages among our class are transactional. I'm simply honest about terms. He gestured to the chair beside his. Will you sit? She took the offered seat. Up close, he smelled of sandalwood and something crisp she could not identify. His presence was overwhelming. You claim to have observed me, she said. When? The Hensworth musical 6 weeks ago. You were hiding behind a potted palm, reading a book concealed in your reticule. Cressida blinked. She had thought herself unnoticed. You were reading Locke's essay concerning human understanding, he continued. An unusual choice for a society event. I was intrigued enough to learn more. I attended 3 more events where you were present. I concluded you were exactly the kind of woman I have been seeking. It was the strangest courtship speech she had ever heard. No mention of beauty or accomplishments. Only her mind, her character. Why me specifically? She pressed. There must be other intelligent women without the complications of my reputation. Something flickered in those gray eyes. Perhaps I am drawn to complications. That is not an answer. No, but it is all I am prepared to give at present. He leaned forward. Here is what I will tell you. I am a private man with private reasons. I am offering a marriage that will restore your family's fortunes. In exchange, I ask for companionship, honesty, and partnership. I do not ask for love, but I ask for genuine effort. And if I refuse, then I will wish you well and leave. I have no interest in an unwilling bride. Cressida looked at her father, whose eyes pleaded with desperation. She thought of her mother selling jewelry, her brother Edmund, whose education had been interrupted, the servants who stayed despite months without wages. She thought of 5 years as a social pariah. And she thought of Mr. Ward's gaze, suggesting he saw far more than he revealed. Something did not add up. A prosperous country gentleman did not spend months stalking a disgraced lady through ballrooms. I have conditions, she heard herself say. Mr. Ward nodded. Name them. First, I wish to know more about you before any wedding. Your family, history, circumstances. Reasonable? What else? Second, the wedding delayed by 3 weeks. Time for us to become acquainted. Agreed. And your third condition. You will tell me truthfully why you are really doing this. Not today, perhaps, but before we marry. I do not believe your explanation. Men do not purchase unmarriageable brides out of philosophical appreciation. For a long moment, he said nothing. Those eyes studied her intently. You are correct, he said finally. There is more than I have shared. But I am not ready to tell it yet. I ask you to trust me until I am. Trust must be earned, sir. Then I shall endeavor to earn it. He rose and extended his hand, palm up. Do we have an agreement? Cressida placed her hand in his. The warmth of his fingers closing around hers sent unexpected heat through her entire body. Neither moved for a moment. We have an agreement, she said. His thumb traced a brief line across her knuckles. Then he released her and stepped back. I shall call tomorrow at 2. Good day, Lady Cressida. He was gone before she could respond, leaving her wondering what on earth she had agreed to. Sleep eluded Cressida that night. Mr. Ward's words echoed endlessly. I saw you reading Locke. I was intrigued. He had watched her without her knowledge, investigated her circumstances, made a calculated decision to acquire her. The thought should have been disturbing. It was disturbing. Yet beneath her unease, something else stirred. He had seen her reading philosophy, and been intrigued rather than appalled. He had heard her called unmarriageable and wanted to know why. In 26 years, no man had ever done those things. He arrived precisely at 2 o'clock. Today, he wore a dark blue coat that emphasized his broad shoulders. Cressida noticed, with annoyance, that he was even more compelling in daylight. "Lady Cressida, thank you for receiving me." "We made an agreement, Mr. Ward." "Indeed." He waited until she sat before taking the chair across from her. "You wish to know about my family. What would you like to learn?" She launched into her prepared questions without preamble. "Where is your estate?" "North of here. A property called Hartmoor in Oldshire. 3 generations in my family." "Your parents?" "Both deceased. My father passed 10 years ago. My mother 5 years before that." "Siblings?" "None living. A younger brother who died in childhood." The brevity revealed nothing of emotion, yet Cressida sensed something guarded. 3 generations is not long. How did your family come to possess the estate?" Appreciation flickered across his features. "My grandfather made his fortune in trade. Sugar, primarily. He purchased the estate seeking to establish his descendants among the gentry." "So, you are not aristocracy by birth. Does that trouble you?" "No. I merely wish to understand your position. Society has been cruel to you as well, for speaking honestly. Perhaps we are both outsiders." A fair point. Cressida found herself reassessing her impression of him. "Tell me about Hartmoor." For the first time, his expression genuinely warmed. "It is not grand, but it is beautiful. Rolling hills with views of moorland beyond. Gray stone that turns golden in evening light. There is a library you would appreciate." Her heart gave a traitorous leap. "And your income?" "The estate generates considerable revenue from tenant farming, supplemented by investments. I am comfortable enough to honor my commitments without hardship." It all sounded plausible, yet something nagged at her instincts. "Mr. Ward, may I speak frankly?" "I would prefer nothing else. Everything you have told me makes sense, and yet I cannot shake the feeling you are not telling the whole truth." He was quiet for a moment. "What makes you say that?" "Small things. You carry yourself too confidently for a man of modest means. Your clothing is excellent, but deliberately understated. Your speech is too polished. You sound educated at Oxford or Cambridge, not a country gentleman who inherited a minor estate." His expression had gone very still. "You are observant," he said finally. "You said you valued intelligence. Did you expect me not to use it?" "No. I suppose I hoped you might overlook certain inconsistencies until I was ready to explain them." "Then there are inconsistencies." "There are." He rose and moved to the window. "I told you there was more to my story. That truth stands. But I am not prepared to reveal everything yet. Not because I wish to deceive you, but because the full truth is complicated. I fear it might frighten you away before you know me. You speak as though you are hiding something terrible. Not terrible." He turned to face her. "Merely unexpected. I do not overwhelm easily." "No, I suspect you do not." He returned to his chair, sitting closer than before. "I am asking for patience while I earn your trust. The truth will come. I give you my word." She should have demanded answers. That would have been sensible. But Cressida had spent 5 years being sensible and getting nowhere. "Very well. I will be patient. But I expect honesty before any wedding." "You shall have it." He extended his hand, and she took it. "Now, shall we discuss something less fraught? What are your thoughts on Locke's theory of personal identity?" And so they talked. For 3 hours they talked. About philosophy, politics, poetry, whether Shakespeare's tragedies or comedies revealed more about human nature. By the time Mr. Ward took his leave, Cressida's head was spinning. She could not remember the last time anyone had treated her thoughts as worthy of genuine engagement. "I shall call again tomorrow," he said at the door, "if you are amenable." "I am amenable." He lifted her hand and pressed his lips to her knuckles. Brief, proper, yet heat flooded through her. "Until tomorrow, Cressida." "Until tomorrow, Mr. Ward." "Nathaniel," he corrected softly. "If we are to be married, you should use my Christian name." "Nathaniel," she repeated. He smiled, a real smile that transformed his stern features. And then he was gone. Cressida stood in the doorway long after his carriage disappeared, her heart stubbornly refusing to care about any inconsistencies at all. The weeks that followed were unlike anything Cressida had experienced. Nathaniel called every day. They walked in Hyde Park, drawing curious glances. They attended a concert at Vauxhall Gardens, where he displayed surprising musical knowledge. They dined with her parents, during which Nathaniel charmed her mother and engaged her father in discussions of agricultural improvements. Through it all, Cressida watched him, catalogued every inconsistency while falling, despite her best efforts, increasingly under his spell. He was brilliant. That much was undeniable. He listened when she spoke, truly listened, as though her opinions were the most important thing in the world. And he was kind, not in showy, performative ways, but in quiet gestures, ensuring her glass was filled before his own, positioning himself between her and crowds, remembering every detail she mentioned, producing thoughtful gifts without fanfare. But the inconsistencies multiplied. At Vauxhall, she noticed how other gentlemen deferred to him instinctively. During a walk, she observed him greet a passing earl with easy familiarity. When she asked afterward, Nathaniel deflected smoothly. And there was his manservant, Mr. Tobias Finch. The man accompanied Nathaniel everywhere, ostensibly as a valet, but carried himself with inappropriate authority. Several times Cressida caught him watching her with a measuring expression, as though assessing whether she passed some unspoken test. By the end of the second week, her patience was exhausted. "I need to speak honestly," she said during an afternoon walk in Kensington Gardens, "about things I have observed that do not make sense." Nathaniel's shoulders tensed slightly. "I suspected this conversation was coming." "Then you know what I'm going to ask." "I know you are going to demand the truth I promised." He guided her to a secluded bench. "And you are right. I have been putting it off because I am afraid of how you will react." "Afraid?" The word seemed incongruous from a man projecting such confidence. "Terrified, honestly." He sat beside her. "You are the first woman who sees me clearly, Cressida, who asks questions rather than accepting comfortable explanations. But it also means I cannot hide indefinitely." "Then stop hiding. Tell me who you really are, Nathaniel Ward, because I no longer believe that name tells the whole story." He was silent for a long moment. "Nathaniel Ward is my name. It simply is not my only name, nor my most important one." He met her eyes. "My full name is Nathaniel Caius Ward Blackwood. I am the Duke of Thornhaven." The words hung incomprehensibly between them. "That cannot be true," she said finally. "The Duke of Thornhaven is a recluse who never attends society events. Yes, I am aware of my own reputation." "You are a duke." "I am. And you approached my father claiming to be a country gentleman of modest means." "I did. Everything I told you was true, merely rearranged. My family did come from trade 3 generations back. I do have a property called Hartmoor. It is a hunting lodge on the edge of my lands, a convenient fiction for my disguise. The main estate is Thornhaven itself, encompassing 40,000 acres and producing £50,000 per year." £50,000. Her family's total debt was less than $3,000. Why? She demanded. Why pretend to be less than you are? Because I needed to know you would want me for myself, not my title. His voice was raw. Do you know what it is like being a wealthy duke in the marriage market? Every woman sees only the coronet. They perform whatever version of themselves they think I want. I have spent 15 years being hunted by fortune seekers who do not care who I am beneath the title. So, you decided to deceive me instead. I decided to present myself as someone you might actually know. He reached for her hands, but she pulled away. When I saw you at the Hensworth Music Hall, I saw someone who might understand. Someone who had also been rejected by society's shallow standards. You could have simply told me the truth. Would that have worked? If I had introduced myself as the Duke of Thornhaven, would you have argued philosophy with me so freely? Would you have seen me as a man rather than a title? She wanted to say yes, but honesty stopped her. I understand why you did it, she said slowly. That does not mean I forgive it. I am not asking for forgiveness yet. I am asking to continue what we have built. Not as Mr. Ward and Lady Cressida, but as ourselves. Something genuine built on lies. Something genuine despite the lies. He moved closer. You know me now. My mind, my humor, my faults. None of that was performance. I need time, she said finally. Time to think. Of course. And I need you to leave London, go back to Thornhaven, give me space to make this decision freely. For a long moment, he simply looked at her. Then he nodded. I will leave tomorrow. But Cressida. He moved closer, breath stirring her hair. Do not take too long. I find I have grown rather accustomed to your company. Before she could respond, he lifted her hand and pressed a kiss to her palm. Warm, intimate, entirely improper. Then he was gone. A duke. She had fallen in love with a duke who had pretended to be a simple gentleman. Now she had to decide whether to trust him with her life. 3 days without Nathaniel felt like 3 years. Cressida tried occupying herself with tasks that had filled her days before his arrival. But every book reminded her of their discussions. Every quiet moment filled with memories of his rare smile. On the 4th day, her mother found her staring out the window at nothing. You miss him, Lady Ashmore observed. I am confused by him. There is a difference. Is there? You have hardly eaten. You sigh at odd moments. I do not sigh. 3 times during breakfast, I counted. Cressida turned from the window. He lied to me, Mother. How am I supposed to trust him? Did he manipulate you? Or did he present himself in a way that allowed you to see him without the distortion of his title? Those are the same thing. Are they? Lady Ashmore reached for her daughter's hand. I have watched you these past weeks. I have seen you laugh more than in 5 years. I had forgotten what my daughter looked like when she was happy. Happiness built on lies is not real. Perhaps not. But the connection you share is real. Whatever deception surrounded your meeting, what grew from it, was genuine. Before Cressida could respond, a knock interrupted them. The butler entered with a letter from Thornhaven. Her heart lurched. She recognized the bold handwriting immediately. Cressida, I promised not to press you, but I find myself incapable of complete silence. I love you. Not because you are intelligent, though you are. Not because you are brave. I love you because, when I am with you, I feel like myself for the first time in 15 years. The title, the fortune, the expectations. None of it matters when you are looking at me with those eyes that see everything I try to hide. I had forgotten Nathaniel existed. You found him. You made me want to be him again. Whatever you decide, I needed you to know that. Yours. Whether you want me or not, Nathaniel Cressida read it 3 times. her vision blurred with tears. "What does it say?" her mother asked. "He loves me." "And do you love him?" The question demanded an answer she had been avoiding. "Yes," she admitted. "God help me. I do." "Then why are you still sitting here?" Cressida stared at the letter in her trembling hands. Every rational instinct screamed caution. He had deceived her, manipulated the circumstances of their meeting, built their entire courtship on a foundation of half-truths. But her heart remembered other things. The way he listened when she spoke, the genuine delight in his eyes when she challenged his opinions, the quiet kindness in 100 small gestures he never expected her to notice. She thought of the life awaiting her if she refused, more years of invisibility, watching her family's slow decline, growing old in the shadow of Lady Prudence's triumph. Then she thought of Nathaniel, of gray eyes that saw her clearly, of a man who had hidden his power to find someone who would love him without it. The choice, she realized, had already been made. She had simply been too afraid to acknowledge it. "I need to pack," she said quietly. "I am going to Thornhaven." 24 hours later, Cressida's carriage crested a hill, and the estate came into view. She had expected imposing magnificence. What she found stole her breath for different reasons. Gray stone walls rose organically from surrounding moorland, as though grown from the earth rather than built. Ivy softened the angles. Gardens sprawled in controlled chaos around the perimeter. As the carriage approached, she spotted a figure on the front steps, tall, dark-haired, impossibly still. Nathaniel. He reached the carriage before the footman could, opening the door himself. "You received my letter," he said quietly. "I did. I did not expect it to work. Neither did I." She placed her hand in his. "Yet, here I am." Thornhaven was everything Nathaniel had described. Rich wood paneling-lined corridors hung with artwork ranging from classical portraits to modern landscapes. Flowers from the garden appeared everywhere, roses on side tables, wildflowers in copper jugs. "My mother's influence," Nathaniel explained. "She believed houses should feel like homes." As they walked, Cressida noticed Mr. Finch watching from a respectful distance. "Your manservant," she said. "He is not truly a valet, is he?" Nathaniel smiled slightly. "Tobias is my steward and closest confidant. He has managed Thornhaven's affairs for 12 years and helped orchestrate my disguise. He was assessing whether you were worthy of the trouble we went through." "And his verdict?" "He informed me after our first meeting that, if I let you slip away, I was a fool who deserved to die alone. I believe I like Mr. Finch. Most people do, once they get past the intimidating exterior." They continued through the house until reaching a small portrait in the family gallery. A boy of perhaps 12, with eyes like Nathaniel's, but a more mischievous expression. "Tell me about him," Cressida said softly. "Your brother." "Marcus." Nathaniel's voice was rough. 8 years younger, the most joyful person I have ever known. "What happened?" "Scarlet fever. He was 14. I was 22. Just finished at Oxford. I was in London when he fell ill. He died before I could reach him." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "My father never recovered. He died 2 years later. I'm so sorry. After that, I retreated here. Let the world forget the Duke of Thornhaven existed. It seemed easier than facing endless condolences." He turned to face her. "Until I saw you hiding behind that potted palm. And I thought, there is someone who understands what it is to be utterly isolated. Is that why you chose me?" "I chose you because you were the first person in 15 years who made me want to stop being lonely." She considered his deception, his manipulation, but also his letters, his vulnerability, the profound loneliness that had driven him to such measures. "I think," she said slowly, "that you are deeply flawed. But I also think those choices came from genuine emotion. And I think I love you despite your flaws. Perhaps because of them. His expression transformed into something raw and wondering. Say that again. I love you, Nathaniel. Your wit, your intellect, your ridiculous inability to tell the truth when a complicated scheme presents itself. Cressida. Her name was a prayer. He cupped her face. I need to do this properly. He dropped to one knee beneath his brother's portrait. Lady Cressida Ashmore, I love you with every broken piece of my heart. I want to spend my life arguing philosophy with you, watching you terrify society matrons with your honesty. Will you marry me? Not for convenience, but because you choose me. Tears streamed down her face. Yes, I will marry you. He slid a sapphire ring onto her finger, then rose and pulled her into his arms. The kiss was hunger and relief and desperate joy. When they broke apart, breathless, a knock shattered the peace. Mr. Finch entered, expression grave. An urgent message from London, Your Grace. Nathaniel accepted the letter. As he read, his expression darkened to cold fury. What is it? Cressida asked. He handed her the letter. Lady Prudence Whitmore has discovered the truth. She is spreading word that Cressida entrapped the Duke through deliberate deception. She claims proof the engagement was purchased. Society is in uproar. If something is not done, both reputations will be destroyed. Come at once. Ashmore. The journey back to London felt endless. How did she discover the truth? Cressida asked. I do not know. We were careful. Finch has already begun investigating. It does not matter how she learned. If she is claiming the engagement was purchased, she is not entirely wrong. But that is not what it became. Nathaniel took her hands. Our love is real. No gossip can change that. Society does not care about reality. Then I will make them care. They arrived at the Ashmore townhouse after dark. Lord Ashmore met them at the door. It is worse than my letter suggested. Lady Prudence claims servants witnessed our negotiations. She is painting Cressida as a scheming adventuress. All technically true, Cressida said flatly. There is more. Her father's voice dropped. Lady Prudence suggests that if you dissolve the engagement quietly, she might soften her accusations. She wishes me to abandon Cressida. She believes you will choose your standing over your attachment. Cressida felt her heart sinking. This was the moment of truth. Nathaniel, perhaps we should consider. No. The word was sharp, final. I will not discuss dissolution. But your reputation is worth nothing if I must sacrifice you to preserve it. He faced her fully. Lady Prudence can spread whatever poison she likes. The only opinion that matters is yours. Of course I still want you, but I cannot bear causing your ruin. You are not the cause. Lady Prudence is the cause. He cupped her face. You are the only thing I would not change. Then what do? We get married, immediately, publicly, with all the spectacle a duke's wedding can command. A dangerous smile curved his lips. Then we let Lady Prudence explain why her version makes any sense at all. The wedding of the Duke of Thornhaven was the social event of the decade. St. James's Church in Piccadilly overflowed with white roses and trailing ivy. The guest list read like a directory of Britain's most powerful families, all summoned by invitations, making clear where the Duke's loyalties lay. Anyone who wished to remain in his good graces would attend. Cressida stood in the antechamber, hands trembling as her mother adjusted her veil. The ivory silk gown was exquisite, commissioned by Nathaniel and completed in 4 days. Ready? Her father asked, offering his arm. No, but I am going anyway. The walk down the aisle was the longest of her life. She felt hundreds of eyes assessing, searching for the scheming adventuress Lady Prudence had described. But at the altar, Nathaniel waited. When their eyes met, his expression softened into something meant only for her. She reached him and placed her hand in his. "You look terrified," he murmured. "I am terrified." "Good. So am I." Vows were exchanged, rings blessed. Through it all, Cressida remained aware of Lady Prudence in the third pew, her polite mask failing to hide the venom beneath. As the vicar pronounced them married, Nathaniel cupped her face and kissed her with an intensity that made matrons gasp. Possessive, passionate, unmistakably genuine. When they broke apart, shock rippled through the congregation. This was not a reluctant groom. This was love. At the wedding breakfast, Cressida overheard a countess whisper, "They seem genuinely devoted." Not at all what Lady Prudence described. "She has always been jealous," another replied. Then Lady Prudence approached, her smile dangerous. "Your Grace, what a lovely ceremony, though proceeding with such haste might suggest you were trying to outrun certain rumors." Nathaniel's tone was ice. "How kind of you to attend, despite your efforts to destroy my wife's reputation. I merely shared concerns about your engagement." "You spread malicious lies." His voice rose, ensuring every ear could hear. "But since you are concerned with truth, allow me to provide it." He turned to address the gathered guests. "Yes, I approached Lord Ashmore with an unconventional proposal, but those considerations were mine, not Lady Cressida's. I sought her because I had observed her intelligence and courage. I wanted a wife who would challenge me, not simper, and agree with everything I said." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lady Cressida did not entrap me. When she learned my identity, she demanded time apart to consider whether she could trust me. She nearly refused me entirely, not because of money, but because she valued honesty more than a duchess's coronet. He looked at Cressida with undisguised adoration. "I am the luckiest man in England. Anyone who suggests otherwise is misinformed or malicious. My wife is to be treated with respect. Anyone who fails will find themselves unwelcome in any house where I hold influence." Someone began applauding. Others joined until the ballroom rang with approval. Lady Prudence stood frozen, her destruction complete. Without a word, she fled. Later, in a quiet alcove, Nathaniel drew Cressida close. "Was that sufficient? Have I proven my devotion?" "You have proven you are formidable when crossed. I love you, Cressida. I will spend my life making sure you never doubt it." "I do not doubt it." She kissed him softly. "Now, I am yours, and you are mine." 4 years later. The nursery at Thornhaven rang with chaos. Cressida watched her husband negotiate with their 3-year-old daughter, while preventing their 18-month-old son from climbing the bookshelf. "Rosalind, we do not put porridge in Papa's hair." "But it looks pretty," Rosalind declared, her gaze sparkling with mischief. Meanwhile, young Marcus had scaled 3 shelves, reaching for a ceramic horse. "Nathaniel, your son." He lunged, catching both child and horse as they tumbled. Marcus shrieked with delight. "Your children are menaces," Nathaniel announced, porridge dripping down his forehead. "They are only my children when misbehaving. They are always misbehaving." Cressida crossed to him, wiping porridge from his cheek. "You have something there, Your Grace. Applied liberally by your daughter." 4 years of marriage, and she still felt warmth every time he looked at her. "I received a letter from Edmund," Nathaniel said later, as they walked toward their chambers. "He has been offered a fellowship at Oxford." Pride swelled in Cressida's chest. Her brother, whose education had nearly been abandoned, was now a rising scholar. Mother will be thrilled, though she is already thrilled with her grandchildren. She adores me because I make her daughter happy. Nathaniel paused at their chamber door. Am I? Making you happy? Deliriously, exhaustingly, sometimes frustratingly. Only sometimes? You are very stubborn. So are you. We are perfectly matched. He kissed her softly. I love you, Cressida Blackwood. Your fierce spirit, your quick mind, your complete inability to suffer fools. I love you too, even covered in porridge. Especially then. Especially then. Because that is when I see who you really are. Not the Duke with his power. Just Nathaniel, failing spectacularly at breakfast management. He pulled her close. I knew there was a reason I married you. Because I was labeled unmarriageable and you have terrible judgment? Because you were brave enough to see through my disguise and foolish enough to love what you found. Perhaps we are both fools. Perhaps. But we are fools together. He pressed a kiss to her hair. And I would not have it any other way. They stood holding each other as morning light grew stronger. The house that had been empty and lonely was now filled with laughter and love. It had started with deception, a duke in disguise seeking a bride society had rejected. Instead, it became the greatest adventure of Cressida's life, and she would not change a single moment. Thank you for staying with us until the very end of this extraordinary journey. If this story made your heart race, brought tears to your eyes, or reminded you that love finds us in the most unexpected ways, please show your support by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Share this story with anyone who believes in second chances and the power of seeing beyond appearances. We have more captivating tales waiting for you. Click on the video appearing now and let your heart be stolen all over again. Until next time.